Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Delightfully Dark Discussions, where we explore everything delightfully dark and demonic. This is Priestess Eilana, and I'm here with Priestess Akelta.
Hello.
Today, we're going to talk about Lord Lucifer.
One of my favorite demons to work with ever.
He's really amazing.
He really is.
When was it that you first started working with him?
That's a really good question. I started working with Lucifer when I was really young. I can't actually remember the initial date. I know it was in my early teens, maybe even like when I was preteen. I became connected with him. Lucifer's a common name even back in the day before we had internet and could Google everything. So most people knew about Lucifer as the Prince of Hell, Lord of the Demons, great, amazing, incredible fallen angel. And I became connected with him through a spiritual experience I had where I astral projected, and I ended up meeting with him, and we started discussing the essence of the self, my own personal power, who I was at my core, and also he started to help me kind of retain the magic and the mystical essence of my soul, because I was really afraid when I was a teenager that I was going to lose that, because I was watching as all my friends were growing up and transitioning into their teenage years. They were letting go bits of magic and bits of power which we had had as children. And I didn't want to lose that. So I remember working with Lucifer to help preserve that and help preserve myself, and also to really get in touch with my core and retain who I was.
He really is an amazing demon to work with, and he has a pretty special place with our entire coven, I think.
He does.
He's actually also one of the huge reasons how I ended up becoming a priestess and working with you.
I remember that. I remember it started with a reading I did for you.
Yeah, before, if anybody who's listening to this doesn't know, before I was a priestess, I actually was a client, and I had a reading done by Akelta. And in that reading, he was the one that stepped forward to work with me.
He did.
Yeah, and I would just have weekly meetings with him. Like, I would do my work every Wednesday night, and I connected with him. And this was way back in the beginning of my spiritual journey.
Which is something that I think we should make note of here, because that's a lot of people ask, how do I connect with Lucifer? How do I connect with Satan? How do I actually make the initial connection with the demons and form these strong bonds? And what you did in the beginning was you actually connected with him. You had a special night where you connected with him, and you consistently connected with him on that night.
Yes, every week at exactly the same time. It was just, I would set up a small altar with candles and incense, do some enchanting, connect with his energies, and then I'm clairaudient, so I would receive messages from him.
How long before you before you heard him? Because I know a lot of people, they're like, I've tried this and I can't connect, and I've been working to connect with them and I just can't make the connection. So how long from when you started doing this devotional ritual to when you actually heard him?
I would say that I felt his energy like the first, maybe like 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
It was more me holding myself back though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like, oh, I don't really believe that I'm hearing this.
Now that's a really important thing, because I believe a lot of people hold themselves back. A lot of people connect and they hear, but they don't believe it.
Yeah, and that was a huge issue for me at the beginning of my spiritual journey. Even connecting with him, I would hear things and I was like, I really don't believe that I heard that. And one of the things was him asking me if I wanted to work with Akelta, with you, and be a priestess. And I was like, I don't believe that I'm hearing this. And I was like, of course, I would love to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, this was back in 2014, and you had done an interview where somebody said, are you taking on apprentices? And you were like, no, I'm not training anybody. So in my mind, I was like, there's no way this is going to happen. So as I was communicating, I was like, well, I would love to be a priestess, but I don't believe that I actually hear you. And I am not going to approach Akelta because that's so incredibly rude from my perspective to just be like, oh, train me. I thought you must get like a lot of requests to be trained or, have people come to you and be like, oh, please train me. I want to be a priest or a priestess.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were emailing back and forth because I was a client. And then you asked me if I wanted to be a priestess.
Yes.
And my mind was completely blown by that.
Well, they had reached out to me. Lucifer had reached out to me, and my personal demon companion who I work with had basically guided me to you and told me to reach out to you. So there was that interesting component too. I guess that did a lot to solidify your faith that you were hearing.
Yeah, that really confirmed, because I really was like, I don't believe I'm hearing this. And then when it actually happened a couple times with Lucifer specifically, obviously that time where he was like, do you want to be a priestess? I was like, yeah, but I'm not going to ask. And then you came to me and I was like, wow.
They tell me things.
Yeah. I didn't believe it, but then it happened to me.
That's one thing that I think a lot of people who are struggling with faith, a lot of people who are struggling with, do I hear this? Is this actually what I'm getting? When you're starting out, you need to just write everything down. Even if you don't believe it, even if you think this is completely impossible, because it's the impossible things that become possible that are going to show you that they're real and going to show you that what you're hearing is real. So when something like that happens, that level is undeniable. We weren't talking about that. I really wasn't taking on any priestesses. I wasn't mentoring anybody. And Lucifer and the demons, they kept drawing me to you. They kept pulling me to you. And they kept saying, reach out to you. So there was dual work going on here where you were hearing this. Yeah. This is what you wanted. And they were communicating with me so that I could take the first step.
Even now talking about it, it still blows my mind to think about, because yeah, there was that, and he came to me again and asked again if I had, at the time I'm full-time working as a priestess now, that's all I do, but back then I worked in IT, and I worked in just below, or just above rather, entry-level position, and I wanted to be an engineer, but there really was no way for me to be an engineer. And he asked if I wanted to be an engineer, and I was like, yeah, I really do. And he said, well, do you want to be an engineer or a priestess? And I was like, I want to do both. And he said, that's going to be a lot of work. And that entire, I guess, meditation session, I'll call it, that Wednesday night, the next day I went to work, and this person approached me who I had never spoken to before, and they asked me if I wanted to be an engineer, and they repeated a lot of the same things he said in the meditation, which was incredibly weird for me at that point, because I could hear him, and he was like, this is going to be really difficult, and then the guy was like, do you want to be an engineer? And I said, yeah. He's like, this is going to be a really tough job, and I was like, okay. And he said a few other things, and it really does solidify it when
you see the physical manifestations happen.
Yeah, or you hear things, like in my case, because I'm clairaudient, hear things and then have somebody else repeat them back to me. Like a person says what I heard during a meditation that one of the demons said. It's mind-blowing, even still.
That's what consistent work with them does. Like when you have that scheduled time and then you consistently work with them, you actually, not only do you forge a stronger bond and stronger connection with them, but you can actually see their work manifesting around you. And when you hold that faith and that connection with them and you just move forward trusting that they're aligning things for you, everything falls into place and everything comes together.
It really does, in the most amazing ways.
I know that's been my entire life with them, is that when I've just trusted and gone with them, when I've made effort to consistently connect with them. Like I work with them nightly. I work with different ones nightly. And when I've written down, when I've journaled, when I've consistently logged what I'm doing, it all just falls into place. Like everything just falls into place. Even sometimes if you don't believe it, even if you don't believe you heard it, even if you don't believe that this can actually happen, if you just keep going forward, they're going to align things for you and they're going to help you.
They really are, and what you said just there about journaling is so incredibly important. I think at every stage of a spiritual journey or connecting with them, anything you write down is only going to help you.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. And you should write down everything, not even the stuff, not just the stuff you think is important, everything, even the minute details. Because I know that for me, it was always the little things that I journaled that I was like, what is this? Like, this is ridiculous. This is so silly. That I came back to later and I was like, oh my gosh, there is such a deeper meaning to that. When you're working with demons, you have to remember that these are multidimensional beings. These are multidimensional beings that are connected to many different realms, and many realms that are even beyond ours. So they're seeing things and they are perceiving things in a way that we can't. They're also working to teach us, to help us to perceive things that we currently can't. Part of working with demons is expanding your mind and expanding your perspective. So they are giving you little hints. They're giving you little tidbits of information that's designed to help expand your mind and help give you the knowledge and the foundation that you need to move forward to the next level, to continue your work with them, and to receive the gifts that they have for you.
Absolutely. We get asked a lot of questions about Lucifer as well. One of the things we get asked quite frequently is, Satan and Lucifer the same demon?
No.
We should probably go into that. I don't know if you want to.
All right. So from my perspective of it, even biblically, like, they're not the same. Like, the only place where Lucifer's mentioned, that passage, there's speculations whether it actually relates to a spiritual being or the king of Babylon. Satan is mentioned as a member of the divine council and as the dark angel. Now, my experience with him is that he's not an angel. The demonic has been simplified, it has been villainized, and it has been, like, repressed. The demonic was always there. It wasn't just the angels, and then from the fallen angels you got the demonic. Darkness has always been there. The demonic has always been divine. Satan is the dark divine. He is the father of all demons, and he is and always will be a demon. Lucifer, on the other hand, Lucifer was an angel. Lucifer was a beautiful angel who fell into darkness. He fell into darkness, and there's many different, like, the mythology of Lucifer and the many different layers of Lucifer. There's the fall, symbolizing that of the personal journey. There's the actual rebellion against heaven and the fallen angels being expelled from heaven. And then there's the war between the fallen angels and the angels, which resulted in the fallen angels being cast out. Whatever one you go by, Lucifer is a being who fell into darkness. He fell into darkness and was transformed by his personal journey through darkness. He went from an angel, falling into darkness, becoming a demon, being infused with the essence of the demonic divine, and rising as a ruler, the Prince of Darkness, a powerful Dark Lord who has incredible wisdom and insights when it comes to walking in the darkness. So they are very different beings. Even their feel is different. Their energy vibrations are completely different.
I felt that too, because I think I did actually work with Satan a little bit before Lucifer stepped forward in the reading, and they felt like completely different entities to me.
Oh yes, definitely. Their energy vibrations are different. Their tonality is different. How they perceive the world is different. Even their mannerisms are different.
Yeah, even the work I actually did individually with each of them was different. And that's something else we get asked a lot.
Yes.
Is, well, how do you find Lucifer's energy overall?
Lucifer's energy, that's a good question. Lucifer's energy to me feels lighter than most demons because he is a fallen angel. So he has the angel vibration undertone. Like, that didn't go away, even though he's infused with the demonic essence. So a fallen angel being an angel who is infused with the essence of the demons and thereby transformed into a demon. His energy vibration is lighter than that of a demon. Lucifer's energy feels divine in a way that it's still connected to the light aspect of divine. There's gray strands of divinity which flow through it and silver strands of divinity that flow through it, and it almost elevates and lifts you up. Satan's energy is transformative. It's very powerful. He has a presence to him. He's strong. He's confident. He's courageous. He's cloaked in darkness. Like I was saying, it's dark. Like he is the beautiful darkness. He is the majestic darkness. And from him, you feel power. You feel courage. You feel confidence. And you feel like you can rise from anything life throws at you. Lucifer, I always feel like I'm on a journey. Like I'm transforming. I'm awakening. I'm rising and stepping into myself and uncovering my inner truth. What about you?
For Lucifer specifically, I always found him to be, because he sounded like I come through like mostly hearing them, and I think you're more clairsentience based. So for me, he sounded very direct. He was very bold, sort of. I don't know if I want to use the word brash. It was just very straight to the point. There was no beating around the bush. It was like, this is what's going on. Do you want this? Do this. And then if I did what I was instructed to do, everything ended up lining up. He's also incredible at manifestation.
Yes, he is.
He's actually one of the strongest one of the strongest ones I've worked with for manifestation.
30 eagles later.
Oh, the eagles, yes.
Yes. I never associated Lucifer with eagles. I actually, so what happened is we had Eilana had a piece commissioned. It was a disc that had Lucifer's sigil carved in it. Now, the artist read in another book that Lucifer was associated with eagles. So, no, neither Eilana nor myself associate him with eagles. But the artist took a creative liberty with that disc and carved an eagle on the other side. So she got the disc with his sigil on it and then the eagle on the other side. So it became a running joke in the coven, and then Lucifer started using eagles to manifest when he wanted to talk to us, because that's one of the things that they're going to do. That's one of the things the demons do, is when you link up different symbols with them, they will use that symbol to communicate with you and to let you know that they want to talk to you, especially if you're working with them on specific goals and you have a time set every week to connect with them and you have a specific objective you're working on. If they want to reach out to you, if they have information to share with you, and if they need to contact you, they're going to use symbols. So oftentimes, if Lucifer wants to connect with me, I'll be driving down the road and I'll see 30, 40 eagles, just bald eagles, just everywhere.
That's not an exaggeration either. We were driving, actually. I had gone up. Akelta lives in Canada, and I'm in the U.S. I crossed the border, picked her up. We were driving down back across the border, and I'm like, oh, look, it's an eagle. And then it was like, oh, look, it's another eagle. Oh, look, there's a tree full of eagles. And then we're counting them, and because it just had gotten to such a ridiculous amount, it's like, I think Lucifer's trying to get our attention, because that's a lot of eagles.
Yeah, so then connecting with him, you receive new information, new direction, and you implement those actions, and it contributes towards the goal you're working on.
Yeah, and when they want to get your attention, they will get your attention.
Oh, they will. Yeah, when working with Lucifer, having specific goals, like specific things you want, can really help the manifestation process. Like he is very direct, so being very direct with him back, saying, I want this. Like with Eilana manifesting, I want to be a priestess. I want to be an engineer. So there's very specific steps that you take to get those. And the more specific your goal is, the more specific steps he can give you, and the faster what you want will manifest.
Absolutely. What are some things that you would maybe use in like a connecting ritual? I think that's another question we get asked a lot. Like things we would have on the altar, maybe crystals, types of incense, things like that.
Well, Lucifer is one of the demons who has statues of him. So obviously a statue of Lucifer. I have a few statues of Lucifer, actually. One of them is a statue of Samael, but I do have one statue that I know is 100% Lucifer, which is the centerpiece of his altar. So there's that. I also like to use blue lace agate is a crystal I like to use. Celestite is another crystal I like to use. Chrysocolla, I have a really nice chrysocolla piece that's his. Quartz crystals I use. I like frankincense. I like lavender. I like to use like light blue, white, or gold candles. I also use black candles with him because he does have the demonic element to him. So I kind of align his angelic side and his demonic side. What about your Lucifer altar?
Mine, I have similar things. I have a sigil thing that I made for him, like an embroidered sigil.
Those are nice. I have a bunch of those. Yeah. Like doing art for demons, that's another thing. Like making your own altar pieces that can really, like incorporating their end or sigil or objects that remind you of them, that can really align you with their energy.
Yeah, actually, I think when I made the embroidered sigil piece, I actually would sit every Wednesday night and chant his end and
Mhm.
infuse the sigil with it as I was creating it.
Which creates a focal point piece. And as you're imbuing the vibrations of the end into the pieces you're creating, you're not only pouring your creative essence into it, you're also bridging a connection vibrationally from yourself and the piece to Lucifer. So it is creating a direct link to him. It's a very powerful piece.
Yeah.
Amethyst can be put in his altar.
I have smoky quartz and selenite.
Smoky quartz and selenite. Yeah, I've got a ton of selenite in his altar.
Yeah, I have the little towers.
Mm-hmm.
With I think they're like candle towers or something. You put the candles in them and they look really nice.
Smoky quartz is great for his demonic darker side. Like that's the thing with Lucifer, because he has the dual component of angelic and demonic, because he's a fallen angel. You can tap into and work with the lighter side or the darker side. There's such a profound balance with him, and like his darker side can awaken your warrior essence. It can also awaken your rebellious spirit. Like if you need to, like oftentimes we are forced to conform. We're forced to conform and go forward in life in the way that other people define our life. We don't have that freedom. We don't have that choice. Lucifer is very much a demon of free will and free choice. So by awakening the rebellious nature within, you can actually stir your soul in a way that allows you to rebel against people that are trying to force you to conform, and develop the courage and the strength to carve out your own path. Because for a lot of people, that's really scary. So many people are told, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to go this way. You cannot forge your own path. You have to follow what's laid out for you. So breaking away from that is really scary, because oftentimes you're going alone. The essence of Lucifer is that he fell into darkness. He fell into isolation. He was alone. But through that, he awakened the flame, the core power, the light that was within, and became his own beacon in the darkness. So he rejected the path that was laid out for him and carved his own path. And that's why he became a Dark Lord and a ruler of hell.
Yeah, I found him to be wonderful for my own empowerment workings, and we actually offer a spell, the Lucifer Core Infusion spell.
Yes, we do. That spell is designed to awaken the true essence of your core and connect you with your innermost desires and the essence within you that is your truth. It's also designed to help illuminate what you want, your inner desires, because a lot of times what we want is shielded from us. We repress it, we isolate it, or we're told that it's infeasible, it won't happen, we can't have it. So we're basically conditioned to think that we can't do it. We have to go the safe route. So what the core infusion does is it awakens your core, it rouses your core, and it also helps align you with the possibility of what you want, so that you're able to take the action that you need to and shift the world around you through your own divine power to get and claim what it is that you desire.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a really fun spell to cast. It's a really powerful spell. I love working with Lucifer. I absolutely adore his energy. I have worked with him. I always say this, when you're working with demons at different stages of your life, you connect with them in different ways. Like when I was a preteen, when I first connected with him, I really needed his help with strengthening my core and standing in my power. And it really gave me that courage and that confidence to follow my own individual essence. Like going through high school, I didn't care what anybody thought of me. I did not care at all. People could have called me the worst name in the world. And I was impacted by bullies, like I was impacted by them. But I didn't, not enough to give up who I was. Like, it hurt the things they said, but I was so strong in my core, and I was so strong from the lessons that he taught me that I was able to just keep going. I held on to myself, and I held on to the magic that was within me and carried it forward into my adult years. And I actually, like, even though, like, I was bullied in school, but I have such fond memories of my past, and fond memories because I was always true to myself. I was always true to who I was. And I mean, at the end of the day, I really didn't care what other people thought of me.
It's like you're reading my mind. I was actually just about to ask you, what was your work with him back then versus what's the evolution of it over time? Because it's been a while now.
Yes, it has been a while. It's been over 20 years I've worked with him, if we want to get really technical about that. So when I was young, like I said, I had a few demons who I worked with, like Lucifer. He was the first one, then followed by Azazel and Satan and Mammon. So those were the four that really, really helped shape my life back in the day, and Lucifer was the first one. And I was in awe when I connected with him at first, because he was just there was a familiar essence to him. That's the thing, a lot of things. When you are called to work with demons, when you are called to connect to the dark energies, you will feel their energy. They will feel familiar to you. You will feel connected to them, and you'll be drawn to them. So when I met with Lucifer, there was a familiar energy to him. Like, I knew him. I knew his essence, and I knew the essence of the demonic. And then my work with him was so natural. Like, it was just so natural and so fluid, and he taught me so much. Like, he really taught me how to go into myself, how to awaken my core, how to find what I really wanted, how to separate what other people had imposed on me versus what I want. Like, I've always danced to the beat of my own drum, and I believe it's, first of all, through being connected to the demonic at a young age, and also through receiving their encouragement and their lessons. I did not go through my teenage years alone. I had them there with me. They were answering my questions. They were guiding me. They were showing me different strategies and different techniques, and they were helping me to hold on to who I was. Because when you are swept up in the world, a lot of times you can lose your identity, and you can lose your sense of self. Working with demons, you really hold on to that. You not only hold on to that, you have the power to stand. Even if the world is against you, even if everybody says you're crazy, wrong, whatever, you have the power to stand strong in what you believe and not let anybody knock you down.
That is such a true statement. I found that exactly working with Lucifer and a lot of the other demons I've worked with.
Oh yeah, no, they have that essence to them, that power, that primal strength, which helps us and helps people in general to just be themselves, to unapologetically be themselves.
Definitely. Another thing that we have been asked a lot is people are trying to connect with Lucifer, and they're like, how do I know that I've made contact with him?
Now, this is a very layered question because there are different layers of connection. Remember, the spiritual world is highly multidimensional, and as humans, being three-dimensional with three-dimensional brains, we often try to simplify it in a way that we understand. So the first thing is that you're probably going to connect with the layer of Lucifer that you are most aligned with if you are meant to work with him. There are some entities that I'm just not cut out to work for, and there might be some entities that you're not cut out to work for. That's just something to take into consideration. It's nothing bad. It's nothing against you. It's just part of following your spiritual path and part of following your heart. So when you are connecting with Lucifer, know that there are different layers. There's different layers. The essence of the demonic divine, from that perspective, Lucifer is a very powerful Dark Lord who can help guide you. He can help direct you. He can help facilitate different spiritual practices, different rites and rituals that you need on your journey and that your soul is longing for. When connecting with any demon, when you have that initial intent followed by researching them and getting a feel for their vibration. That will allow you to connect to their individual essence. So part of that comes from focusing on their sigils, chanting their ends. It helps you to connect with their energies and helps you to reach for them. When it comes to Lucifer, many people will say he's got tons of sigils, and it's true. Each sigil is going to connect you to a different vibrational frequency, so make sure you're using the sigil that most calls to you. People might say, this is the best sigil. There is no best sigil. The best sigil is the one that works for you. We have our sigil of Lucifer. That works well for some people. There's other sigils of Lucifer that might work well for other people. It depends. It's very important, though, that you pay attention to where your energies are directing you, because that's going to help you connect the strongest. So the first part is having the intent to connect with Lucifer, having the intent, then followed by building your own spiritual foundation, because you want to make sure that you can defend yourself spiritually and that you have a grasp of how to define your space. The spiritual foundation is shielding, warding, grounding, cleansing, focusing, and mental mastery. And all these components help you to be strong and confident and help you to control your spiritual space. That being said, this is a learning journey. You're not going to be a master right off the bat. What you want to do is you want to have the intent to connect with Lucifer. You want to research and read up on him. You want to find the sigil that most calls to you. You want to chant his N. You want to vibrate with his energies. And when you connect with him, the best way to tell if you've connected with the authentic essence of the demonic divine, Lucifer, the demonic divine, or something nefarious, is what happens. Is your life getting better? Are you feeling good about the interaction? Are you feeling positive and empowered? Then you're connected to the demonic divine. You're connected to Lucifer. If something's wrong, if you feel sickly, if you don't want to, if bad things start to happen around you, cleanse and remove. It's probably a sludge. But for the most part, when you follow the steps of researching and really take the time to attune yourself to the demon's individual frequency, so you take the time to attune yourself to Lucifer's frequency through enchanting and sigil gazing and reading about him, you're going to connect with him, and you're going to connect with the layer of him that you're meant to.
I think that's great advice, and I also just wanted to mention, as you're talking, I'm writing things down, because I was going to ask you about them, but as I write them down, you just start talking about them. So it's really
I'm
weird.
reading your mind.
It's like you're reading my mind, because you can't see what I'm writing. The other thing I was going to add from my own personal experience was when I first started working with him, since I haven't been working with him as long as you have. What I would do, aside from hearing things and then having people repeat them back or having things actually shift in my environment, was to ask for a sign. And that could be, ask for something to manifest. This could work with Lucifer, or really any demon or dark lord that you're working with. But something during your time set aside with them to manifest in the next few days, or in my case, when I worked with him, every night that I did work with him, I would know he was there because he would blow my candles up on my altar consistently. It was like the flame would change on the candles, and then the wax would start melting, and there was just wax everywhere. It ended up all over the altar cloth, all over the carpet, which was a nightmare to get out of the carpet. And sometimes some of the candles would explode. They would just come apart, and I thought something was going to catch on fire, but it didn't, which was good. But things like that you can notice.
As changes in your environment. And yeah, they do manifest things really fast. Like when you ask for help and when you ask for things to shift, you can see the shifts happening. You can see everything coming together and aligning for you. And if you trust and if you have faith and if you keep moving forward into those shifts and manifestations, they'll keep happening.
Yeah. And if you can, even while you're doing work with them or with him specifically, write down what's going on if you're not completely in a trance state. Like I would have a notebook and just write down everything I heard, what was going on, whatever shifted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good thing. Keeping notes of everything that's happening, because it's going to be subtle. Like, there's going to be subtle things, there's going to be big shifts. And if you can hear them, like if you have the psychic foundation to hear them, there's going to be really big shifts, because then you're going to be able to know the exact action that you have to take, and then everything's just going to fall into place. But paying attention to the subtle shifts in your environment, and also the subtle symbols and signs, because they do happen. Like even like 40 eagles appearing, you know, that's I know what that means. And you know, little things happening, like songs playing that remind you of them, or even just see. I remember that day we saw his name on a bumper plate. Somebody had the Lucifer. It had a Lucifer bumper plate, and there's this bald eagle, and I'm like, oh, that's not subtle at all.
That's right. We were following that car for like, I don't know how long.
Yes. Yeah, that car. And oh gosh, like even like you'll be in a store, and like the most random obscure song that never plays on the radio and never should play on the radio suddenly starts playing, and you're like, oh, well, you know. And like a lot of people are like, well, these things can be, you know, they can chop them up to coincidence. And it's like, okay, well, coincidence for me then happens every single day of my life, and coincidence leads to money and changes and success. So if that's coincidences, I like coincidences. But, you know, a lot of people, like there's people that are either looking for the miracles, they're looking for the changes, and they see magic and everything. And then there's the people that look to disprove all that. And let me tell you, the people that look for miracles and magic and everything are the ones that tend to do better, because they see the signs, they see the shifts, and they see the action they need to take. So I'd rather work to prove that my work with demons shifts my life than work to disprove it. Because if you're working to disprove it, you're not going to get anything.
Yeah, where you put your focus and your energy is where you'll notice things going. And the more you become negative about things or try to shut them down, the less, I don't know what to call it, like energy you're going to have around yourself to manifest things.
It doesn't flow as easy.
No.
It shuts down, it closes off, and then you're really incapable of moving in the direction you want to. You stagnate yourself that way. It's good to be skeptical to a point. There's a balance, you know, like you don't want to just go through life going, everything is real and everything is wonderful. I mean, you can do that, but you're going to stagnate yourself just as much as if you are cynical about everything and be like, nothing is real. You know, I like going through it with, you know, with asking for things and then watching them manifest. So asking, watching, manifest. So there's a balance, you know. I work towards finding the truth and finding what's real in my life, because there are some things that are fantastical, there are some things that are from my imagination. So I continuously work to challenge what I'm getting to make sure that it's real, but not to disprove it, just to see what's real and make sure that I am aligned with what I really want and aligned in the direction that's going to get me what I want.
Exactly.
All right, well, so Lucifer, he's an absolutely amazing and incredible Dark Lord to work with, and I really recommend anybody who is called to him, anybody who is starting on this path. I mean, he was the first demon I worked with. Some people are like, Lucifer's not for beginners, but I mean, I was really young. I was really, really young when I started working with him, so I've never had a problem. But when you're connecting with the essence of the demonic divine, you're not going to have the problems that people have when they're connecting with different vibrations, which we'll talk about in another podcast. But the essence of the demonic divine is something that it is here, it is meant to empower those on the dark path, and it is meant to help align people with their dark essence and their dark core. So connecting with Lucifer, he can help that. He can help facilitate that. He can help connect you with that. And he can help connect you with your inner truth. He can really help you awaken your potential and really help you to get on track to live the life that you want on your terms, not the life that everybody else wants you to live. I mean, his journey, like the spiritual journey that you can go on with Lucifer, is basically where you fall from falseness. You fall from a false life. You fall from everything that is restraining you, binding you, imprisoning you, and disempowering you. You fall from that and you crash and burn usually, but it's a good crashing, because you're basically breaking away from everything that's held you back and everything that has stopped you from really embracing who you are. So from that, you get to explore your darkness. And Lucifer will be right there helping you. You get to explore your darkness, you get to explore your truth, and you get to live a life of freedom away from the expectations that everybody else had on you. You really learn to shine your own light. You learn to rely on who you are, and you learn to move forward with courage and confidence. So that's the journey that Lucifer reveals, and it's been one of the most transformational parts of my work with him, is really being in the darkness and learning to love the darkness and learning how to navigate the darkness and move forward. So if you're called to work with Lord Lucifer, I highly, highly recommend it. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for this week's delightfully dark discussion. We are so happy to have you following us, and we are so happy to be back. We're looking forward to doing these weekly. If you have any suggestions for the show or any questions you might like us to answer, please just let us know. Send us an email. We'll be leaving our contact information or the ways you can reach us in the description below. Until then, though, we hope that you have an amazing week, and we will see you next time for Delightfully Dark Discussions.